I think it's important that people understand we never had Brexit. Brexit never happened. And I know we had the vote for it back in 2016. The majority won. And it should have been a done deal. We should have left the next day and put the EU on the back foot. Nobody expected it. But happened, it did. It even surprised Nigel Farage, who suspiciously conceded the vote to the other side so early on during the vote count. Anyway, so Rishi Sunak, the unelected Prime Minister, said he'd put EU laws through the shredder during his leadership campaign. He gave us his word, all 2,400 EU legislations, and he's completely failed. All he's done is bin a few of them, and that's it. Now, when I voted for Brexit back in 2016, as did millions of others, we wanted out. We wanted out. We wanted nothing to do with the unelected bureaucrats in Brussels. We had no problem, or we have no problem, with the people of Europe. Our problem is that mafia gang in Brussels, which is running EU member states like a cartel. They're literally draining these countries of money and dictating their laws, which is completely wrong. And to me, sovereignty isn't all about borders and finance. It's all spiritual. Being British means something to me. Having our own people dictate our own future means a great deal more. That is true democracy. The EU is not a democratic state. I want my government to dictate the rule of law here. I want my government to enforce our borders. And I want our government to listen to the people that elected them. Now, while we were members of the EU, we had around something like 2,400 EU laws we had to abide by. And when we voted to leave in 2016, we still abided by them. And it's now 2023, and we're still abiding by them. So effectively, we never left the EU. Because if we break any of those legislations, any of those laws, the EU then dictates consequences, despite the fact that we left. And that's wrong, isn't it? That's perverse. And it's not just people like Rishi Sunak and the Tories. The Tories kept putting in place prime ministers who voted to remain. You had Theresa May in there for a few years who completely wasted time with her Brexit means Brexit bollocks when she had no intention whatsoever of getting Britain out. And then you have the unelected House of Lords which are loyal to the EU. Some of them are even in the pay of Brussels. So do you think this unelected lot are going to allow Britain to leave an organisation that pays them millions to promote its interests here in the UK? Of course not. So literally every law and legislation that the House of Commons have put through to get passed by the House of Lords has been turned away. And all this tells me is we are going to be returning to the EU sooner rather than later. They're trying absolutely everything they can. And they've even sold Northern Ireland, or Ulster, down the river to appease their EU paymasters. So, unless at the next general election there is some miracle that we really have a genuine pro-Brexit, anti-EU party, then there's nobody worth voting for. Because if you vote the Tories, you get Labour. You vote Labour, you get the EU. So when you have some Remainer lunatics on Twitter or social media or on the mainstream media complaining about the way of life here in Britain, the cost of living crisis, etc., then it's not Brexit's fault, because there are empty shelves in European member states' countries as well. And in some EU states, the cost of living is worse. So there we go. As long as we are abiding by EU laws, we never left. And they still have a massive influence on how we do things here in the UK. And there we go. That's my video. That's what I think. Let me know what you think in the comments. And until the next time, Roger Trout.